Hey guys, welcome back to Rather Be Visin. My name is Sam, and today we're going to be taking a look at grouping within Tableau. So you can create a group to combine related members within a field. So for instance, if you had some subcategories and you wanted to group them up into larger categories and that didn't already exist within your data, then you're able to do that through groups. Groups are also really useful for being able to fix data errors. So for instance, if you had some state names but also some state abbreviations, you know they're the same state, you can pull them into a group. And it's also useful for carrying out what-if analysis. So for instance, if we were going to combine these two subcategories or these two departments, what would that look like in terms of our performance? So without further ado, let's hop right into Tableau and have a look at how we can apply groupings. So here we are in Tableau. I'm in the EU Superstore dataset. And you can see I've got a very simple chart here with my subcategory and my sales. Now, when it comes to making a group, there's a few ways of being able to do it. The first one, and probably the most accessible, is when you've got your view here, if you decide you want to group some of these values, you can select them. And you can see now within my tooltip, I've got the paperclip icon, which means that I can group these. And if I select that, that's going to group my three subcategories that I picked into a new group. You can see my rows has changed to subcategory group. And I've got a new field over in my data pane that's also that subcategory group. Now another way of being able to group is, again, we can select them within our view, and then we can click this paperclip up the top here. And also, because we've already got a group, we can choose to add them into that existing group. So that's two ways of being able to do it within the view itself, but you might want to group before you even start building your visualization. And the way that you do that is just right-clicking on the field that you want to group, and then we come down to create and then group. And then we get the group dialog box. So firstly, up the top here, we put in a name for our group. So Sam's Super Subcategory Group. And then in here, we have all of the titles that are within our field here, and we can go through and we can group them. So I can group these, and I can call this Group A maybe. I can group these, and I can call it Group B. I'm also able to select just one of these. I can right click, select Add To, and then say, actually, I want that in Group B. So now we've got our groups. So we've got Group A, we've got Group B, and then we've got these things that are outside of the group. And we have two options with these. We can either leave them like this and leave them as individual elements within our field, or we can tick Include Other, and then that's going to put them in a group that is called Other. What does this look like in practice? Let me show you. So if I untick Other, you can see we've still got them all separate. If we click Apply and OK, if I make a view here with my sales and my profit, and I bring in my subcategory onto detail, so now we've got marks for each of my subcategories. If I bring in my super subcategory and drop that on color, you can see that all of our Group A subcategories are coming through as orange. All of our Group B are coming through as red, and everything else has got its own distinct color. Now, if I just come in here and edit my group, and I tick that Include Other, when I click Apply Now, you can see that I've now got my Group A, my Group B, and my Other are all grey. So this can be a really useful way of being able to hide anything that you're not interested in the color scheme, but still show it within your chart. So another way that we can use it is to group our high and our low value regions, for instance. Let's just run through what that would look like. I'm going to bring in my country region. I'm going to drop that onto rows, and then I'm going to bring in my sales, and I'm going to drop that into columns so I get my bar chart. I'm then going to sort this from largest to smallest, and I'm going to pick my top three, and I'm going to group them, and then I'm going to sort that again. I'm going to pick my bottom three, and I'm going to group that. I'm going to come up into my new field that's been created, edit the group, and I'm going to rename this to be low performers. And I'm going to rename my top to high performers. I'm going to include Other and click Apply. And now you can see I've got my three bars. And again, I can bring that field onto color, and I can leave my Other as grey, and then I can highlight what they are. And obviously, if you don't want to include the group within the view, if I take out that but leave it on color, when I bring in my country region, we can see what they're like. So we can see that blue are our high performers, grey are our other, and orange are our low performers. So if for whatever reason we weren't going to sort this from largest to smallest, we'd still have that color indicating. So groups are really useful at being able to highlight different things, but what about fixing data errors? Well, if we have a look at my view that I've got here, you can see that my data's not that clean, and I've got my subcategory coming through, sometimes coming through correctly, but sometimes it's being shortened. So I've got aptly rather than appliances. So what we're able to do in this instance is to select both of these and group that. And now that has fixed that error. So we could go through, make sure that all of the ones that are coming through slightly shortened are grouped. And now all of our data is correct. So we managed to group those two fields, the one that's named slightly incorrectly, and now we can see what it looks like. Obviously what you'd want to do is go back to the data source and fix that error so it's coming through nice and clean, but this is a good way of being able to quickly carry out analysis if you're noticing that sort of error with the data. So that's groups. They're really, really handy as long as your fields aren't changing that much. So they're not dynamic. So if I was to get a new subcategory come in and I had that include other ticked, it would fall into that other bucket. So it's important to keep in mind that it's not dynamic. There is a way of doing a type of grouping that is dynamic, but we'll cover that in a later video. So that was groups. Hopefully you found that useful. Cheers for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.